Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to talk about a very beautiful surah in the Quran, which is Surah Al-Furqan, or chapter 25. And we're specifically going to focus a lot on the first word in the first verse, which is the word tabaraka, which can be translated as blessed. So the first verse says, Tabaraka alladhi nazzala al-furqana ala abdihi liyakuna lil'alamina nadhira. Blessed is the one who sent down Al-Furqan, which is often translated as the criterion, upon his servant, so that he could be a warner to all the worlds. But why does he start off the verse by saying tabaraka, or what we translate as blessed be the one who, speaking about himself or speaking about Allah? And this word occurs at other times in the Quran or other places in the Quran, referring to Allah, tabaraka, as blessed is Allah, right? Why do we refer to Allah, or why does the Quran refer to Allah as tabaraka? So if we look at some of the meaning of the word baraka in Arabic, the word baraka in Arabic means an-nama'u wa ziyada. It means growth and increase. And Allah uses this to refer to himself in a few different places. But why though? If it means grow and increase, why say tabaraka about himself? So I'm going to share a couple of thoughts. Allah knows best, but I definitely think that this is something that we need to study more. And anytime I present the Quran, I try not to present it in a way where I feel like I have everything figured out about whatever we're talking about, but it's just a continuous study. We're continuously learning together, and it's really just sharing some thoughts and observations. So the place that we're going to go, a lot of times you can find like one key ayat when you're studying the Quran that kind of opens up your mind about all of the other ayat that have the same concept or the same word. Sometimes you have to put all of the verses together to get that feeling, but sometimes you can find one key ayah that becomes like a miftah. It becomes like a key to open up the rest of the verses that use that similar word or concept. So in this case, the verse, or the series of verses actually, that I want to rely on is in chapter 23, beginning from verse 12, right? And then it's going to end with this word tabaraka that is at the beginning of Surah Al-Furqan, and we're going to put that together and see if we can start to get some understanding of what might be being talked about. So in verse 12, he starts off by saying here, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. And truly we have created the human being from an extract of clay. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. Then we made him a nutfa, like a sperm drop, in a firm place, in a stable place. ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا. Then we created or evolved or developed the sperm drop into an alaqa, like a clinging thing. فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً. Then we made the clinging thing into like a lump of flesh. فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا. Then we made the lump of flesh into bones. فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا. Then we clothed the bones in flesh, or in like skin. Thumma, well, I don't want to say just skin, lahman. Perhaps we need to study that more. Does it just mean skin, flesh? Could it mean muscles? What does it mean Quranically is what we're saying. فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. Okay, so this is where we really want to start to focus our attention. So let's, before I translate this portion, and then we're going to get to the word tabaraka here, I want to think about what happened previously in these verses. What happened previously? He starts off talking about creating al-insan, or the human being, min sulalatin min teen, from an extract of clay. Then he said, thumma ja'alnahu nutfatan. Then we made him a sperm drop. And then from the sperm drop, he developed and evolved him until finally he comes out, thumma ansha'nahu khalqan akhar. Then we brought him forth as another creation. Okay? So think about really carefully what's going on here. We're starting from a small element, sulalatin min teen, a nutfa, these small elements, and then gradually through stages are being developed into what he calls khalqan akhar. And why does he call it khalqan akhar? Like after you go through these stages of development to become a human being, to be born as a human being, as a child, as a baby, he calls that khalqan akhar. Why does he call it another, what we can translate as another creation? So the word akhar means another, or something other than. So if I, for example, just to show some usage of the word, if you came in with someone and I didn't know who that person was. And someone later asked me, who did, let's say your name was Ahmed, just making a name up. Who did Ahmed come in with? I said, well, Ahmed came, wa ma'ahu akhar, and another person was with him, but I don't know who that person was. So someone other than you, though, right? So here, when the Quran tells us about this gradual development from a sulala, a nutfa, all these different stages, right, until the creation of a new human being, why doesn't he say, ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا جَدِيدًا, for example? Then we bring him forth as a new khalq, or a new creation. Why does he say khalqan akhar, or another creation, a creation that's other? Perhaps part of the reason that he says that is because what it's telling us is that each new creation or each new person that's born through that gradual process is unlike any other creation that has ever been born. It is khalqan akhar. Whatever human being or whatever creation you can point to, this new baby is akhar. It's something other than that. So here in this verse, it's so beautiful that perhaps it's also telling us about the uniqueness of each baby and each human being that's born. ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. Then we bring him forth as another creation, a different creation, different than anyone else. Now, after this gradual step-by-step process, bringing us to خَلْقًا آخَرَ, what does he finally say? He says, فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنَ الْخَالِقِينَ. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ. Then, so blessed is Allah, the most beautiful or the best of the creators. So after he starts, sulalatin min teen, an extract of clay, then a nutfa, a sperm drop, and then each of these stages going from the smallest to finally developing into khalqan akhar, a completely new, other human being, another creation. After all those stages, he says, فَتَبَارَكَ. Then blessed is Allah. And remember, we said in the beginning that barakah in Arabic means to grow and to increase. So why does he say tabarakallah after having grown and increased the sulala, the nutfa, all the way to another human being? So perhaps what that tells us when we say tabarakallah is it's drawing our attention to the expansion of Allah. It's drawing our attention to how Allah expands and grows. Now, not necessarily meaning Allah himself expands and grows, but meaning how Allah expands and grows things, and through those things we see the work of Allah, or we see the lessons of Allah. For example, take that same meaning and apply it to a word in the Quran, or apply it to a verse in the Quran. You can take a word in the Quran, just like we're doing with the word tabaraka, and you can start to unpack it and think about it and analyze it. And the more you do, then it will expand. The concepts will expand. You will learn more. Your mind will expand. And perhaps that's part of the meaning of tabaarakallah, right? Tabaarakalladhi nazzala al-furqana ala abdihi, as we started in the beginning of Surah Al-Furqan. Tabaraka, not just blessed, but the one who sent the Quran upon his, or the Furqan, the criterion upon his servant, so that he could be a warner to all of the worlds. See, not just لِيَكُونَ لِلْعَالَمِينَ نَذِيرًا, the verse ends. So he could be a warner to all the worlds. So perhaps that's another reason why it starts with tabaraka, because through the Furqan, through this criterion that he gives us between right and wrong, and that's something we'll discuss inshallah in another video, but through that you become a warner to everyone, to all the worlds, not just limited to your particular group or the people that you like. This is a universal message that expands to be able to be applied to any people at any time, at any place. So Allah, tabarakallah, when we say that in other verses like tabarakallah, here in this verse, ahsan al-khaliqeen, perhaps that's telling us that in our lives and in our knowledge and the things we see around us, Allah is always expanding. He's always expanding as far as being able to see the lessons of Allah in our lives. And perhaps that's why he tells us in another verse, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ, to Allah belongs the east and the west. فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. So wherever you turn, there is the wajh of Allah. They translate it as there's the face of Allah, but the wajh means the direction you face, muwajaha. That's why Musa was described when he went to Midian after he killed a person and someone came and warned him, and then he left the city. خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبْ. He left the city fearful and looking around. What is it? How does it describe him when he went to Midian? توجه تلقاء مدين. From the same توجه, from the same root as the word wajh, which we translate as face. توجه, he took on the direction تلقاء مدين, into the direction of Midian. So wajh can mean direction, perhaps it means purpose, because your purpose is where you direct yourself, right? If you have a purpose in your life, you direct yourself in that direction metaphorically. So فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. So wherever you turn, there is the wajh of Allah, there is the purpose and the direction of Allah. But oftentimes we don't see it. It's there, but we don't see it because we're not looking at it, we're not looking for it, we're not becoming conscious of it, we're not becoming aware of it, we're not thinking about it like that. So perhaps when he tells us, tabaarakallah nazzala al-furqan ala abdihi, tabaraka, not just blessed, but the one who sent the Furqan upon his servant, he is continuously expanding. And by you connecting with this expansion and seeing the expansion of his lessons all around you, and the growth and the increase of his lessons all around you, from the smallest to the biggest thing, you become a warner for all of the worlds. You become a universal person that can connect with everyone. And Allah knows best. Those are just some thoughts. Hopefully that benefited, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.